There will come a moment in your life when the weight feels unbearable, when the path you are walking feels too long, when every step forward feels like you are dragging the weight of the world on your shoulders. You look around and wonder if it's even worth it, if the dream you hold inside your heart is too far away, too unrealistic, too impossible to ever touch. And in that exact moment, when quitting feels easier than taking one more step, the universe leans in and whispers you see, don't give up. Not now. Not ever. Because everything you've ever wanted is closer than you think. Most people never hear that whisper. Most people quit just before the finish line. They walk away seconds before the breakthrough, not realizing that persistence, the refusal to let go of the vision, is the key that unlocks the quantum reality waiting for them. The truth is, manifestation doesn't belong to those who wish for a moment. It belongs to those who persist in belief long after the evidence is gone. Quantum manifestation is not about begging for a better future. It's about embodying the certainty that it already belongs to you. Science shows us the observer effect. The simple act of holding attention on something collapses possibility into reality. This means that every time you hold the image of your dream in your mind, every time you live from the feeling that it is already yours, you are bending reality in your favor. But here's where most people fail. They stop too soon. They let fear take over. They let time discourage them. They say, "It's not working." And in that very moment, they step out of alignment, cutting off the flow of the reality they had already been creating. You must understand, the universe never works on your schedule. It works on the schedule, persistence, of unwavering faith of those who refuse to stop believing. When you never give up, you are not just being stubborn. You are sending a signal into the quantum field that says, "I already have it. I already am it. Nothing can shake me." And the field responds, the energy shifts, the pathways rearrange. People, opportunities, synchronicities, they all begin to move in your direction because reality bends to the vibration of certainty. That is why persistence is not just a motivational cliché. Persistence is the secret ingredient that keeps you aligned long enough for the unseen to become seen. The dream is already real in the quantum. The only question is, will you persist long enough for it to materialize in your life? So I say this to you, never give up. Not when it's hard, not when it hurts, not when the world laughs, not when you've failed 1,000 times. Because persistence in the unseen is the very act that makes the unseen seen. The greatest athletes, the greatest leaders, the greatest creators of all time had one thing in common. They acted as if their dream was already theirs, and they never stopped, no matter how long it took. That's not faith for a moment. That's faith until it becomes fact. And that is what you are capable of too. If you truly want to understand why giving up is never an option, you must first understand the reality you are living in, because it is not what you were taught. You were raised to believe that life is fixed, that circumstances are permanent, that what you see is all there is. But quantum reality tells a different story. At the deepest level of existence, everything is energy. Every object, every thought, every dream is vibrating, alive, moving, and responding. And here is the truth that most people will never grasp. Your consciousness is not separate from that reality. It is shaping it. The thoughts you hold, the feelings you repeat, the state you persist in, these are not just invisible emotions passing through you. They are commands to the quantum field. Every time you choose to see yourself as a winner, as worthy, as abundant, you are aligning with that vibration, and the universe begins to organize itself to reflect that identity back to you. Think about it this way. You are not chasing your dream. You are aligning with it. That vision of success you hold inside you exists right now in the infinite field of possibilities. There are infinite versions of you. One who gave up, one who quit halfway, one who never tried, but also one who succeeded beyond imagination. One who held on, one who kept persisting until everything they wanted became real. The version you experience is not random. It is selected by your assumption, by your persistence, by your refusal to let go of the picture in your heart. This is why quantum manifestation is not about asking, it is about becoming. You don't beg for what you want. You step into the frequency of already having it. You act as if it is already yours, and then you stay there long enough for the world around you to catch up. But here is where persistence becomes the most powerful tool you will ever wield. The quantum field responds to certainty, not hesitation. The longer you remain in the energy of "it's already done," the faster it crystallizes into reality. Most people fail not because their dream was impossible, but because their persistence ran out before their dream could materialize. They tried to plant the seed and dig it up every few days to see if it was growing. They watched the clock, they counted the days, and when nothing seemed to change, they gave up. But manifestation is not measured by time, it is measured by faith. When you stay in the assumption, when you refuse to give up no matter how things look, you are bending the unseen into form. So ask yourself, if reality is energy, and your belief is the force that directs it, why would you ever stop? Why would you give up on the dream when you already hold the power to shape it? Giving up is not the end of a dream. It is the act of choosing a lesser version of reality. But persistence is the act of saying, "No, I will not settle. I will not walk away. I will not give up, because what I seek is already mine." And when you live that way, the quantum field has no choice but to rearrange itself, to match you. This is the reality most people never discover. They think life is against them. They think obstacles are signs to quit. But in truth, every challenge is simply a test of your persistence, a test of your belief, a test of how long you can hold the energy of the dream even when the evidence has not yet appeared. The question is not whether your dream exists. It already does in the quantum. The question is whether you will keep persisting until the day you finally live it with your own eyes. The reason so many people never live the life they dream of is not because they aren't smart enough, talented enough, or worthy enough. It is because they quit too soon. They mistake delay for denial, silence for rejection, and resistance for impossibility. They forget that the dream has already been born in the unseen, that their manifestation is already alive in the quantum field, waiting for them to persist, long enough for it to appear. Instead of holding the vision, they look at their current circumstances and say, "It's not working." They judge the dream by the evidence of the moment, not realizing that the moment is simply catching up to their assumption. They let time become their enemy, and in doing so, they step out of alignment. But let me tell you something powerful. The universe does not operate on the clock you hold in your hand. Reality is not bound to your deadlines. Just because you don't see progress today, just because the evidence hasn't arrived this week, doesn't mean the energy isn't moving. Think of the seed planted deep in the soil. For weeks you see nothing. For months perhaps there is only silence. But beneath the surface, roots are forming, growth is happening, life is pushing upward. And if you dig up the seed every day to check if it's growing, you destroy the very process meant to deliver the fruit. That is exactly what happens when you give up on your dream. You stop the process halfway, you uproot what was already on its way. Why do people quit? Because they confuse struggle with failure. They believe that resistance is a sign to stop when, in truth, resistance is proof you are moving toward expansion. They think setbacks mean they're off course when often setbacks are simply redirections, recalibrations, the universe reshaping the path to get them where they belong. They give up because they can't yet see the result, but manifestation is never about what you see. It is about what you believe. You will always see it after. You persist, not before. The truth is, your dream does not belong to those who wish once and walk away. It belongs to those who refuse to stop holding it, even when the world says no, even when the circumstances scream impossible, even when their own mind whispers, "Maybe it's not for you." The only difference between those who make it and those who don't is that the winners, the achievers, the manifestors, the creators, they kept going. They kept assuming. They kept living in the end until life had no choice but to match their belief. So if you feel tired, if you feel like quitting, remember this. The moment you want to give up is usually the moment right before the breakthrough. That heaviness, that resistance, that doubt, it is not the end. It is the sign that you are close. It is the universe asking, will you persist anyway? Will you hold the energy of already having it even when nothing outside of you agrees yet? Because if you can say yes in that moment, if you can hold firm when it's hardest, you will unlock a version of yourself that is unstoppable. Persistence is the bridge between the invisible and the visible, between the dream you hold in your mind and the reality you can touch with your hands. Without persistence, desire remains only a wish, a passing thought, a fleeting spark that never has the chance to ignite into flame. But when you persist, when you hold the vision, when you act as if it is already done, when you refuse to release the assumption no matter how much reality contradicts you, you create a pathway for the unseen to manifest into form. This is why Neville Goddard taught that you must live in the end. It is not enough to see the dream in your imagination once. You must dwell there. You must return to it again and again until it becomes the state you live in. Persistence is not about force. It is not about pushing harder in the physical world. It is about holding the inner world steady until the outer world bends to it. Most people understand desire, but they do not understand persistence. Desire lights the fire, but persistence keeps it alive when the winds of doubt try to blow it out. Desire makes you dream, but persistence makes you act as if that dream is already yours. And here lies the true secret of manifestation. The quantum field does not respond to a passing thought. It responds to sustained assumption. Your dream does not come because you want it once. It comes because you never stop assuming it is already yours. Every time you persist, every time you feel the feeling of the wish fulfilled, every time you stand tall in faith despite what your senses tell you, you are walking across that bridge. And with each step, you are closing the gap between the invisible and the visible. Think of persistence as the invisible thread that keeps you connected to your dream. You may not see it yet, you may not touch it yet, but as long as you hold the thread, the dream cannot drift away. The moment you let go, the moment you give up, the thread snaps and the dream floats back into the realm of possibility instead of becoming your reality. But if you keep holding on, if you keep pulling on that thread with faith and certainty, it will eventually land right in your hands. The outer world has no choice but to reflect the inner world you persist in. So the question is never, can I manifest my dream? The real question is, will I persist long enough for it to appear? Will you keep living in the end even when nothing seems to change? Will you continue to walk in the energy of already having it even when the evidence hasn't caught up? Because if you can, if you refuse to quit, if you refuse to surrender your vision, then your persistence becomes the bridge that no obstacle can destroy. Circumstances may rise, time may stretch, doubts may whisper, but nothing can withstand the power of a mind and heart that persists in the assumption of already having. Never give up, because the very act of persistence is proof that your manifestation is alive. If you were not meant to have it, the vision would have died inside you long ago. The fact that it still burns, the fact that it still calls to you, means it is yours. And if you ever doubt the power of persistence, if you ever feel tempted to give up, look to the stories of those who refuse to quit. History is overflowing with people who prove that persistence in belief, in vision, in assumption, is the very thing that turns the impossible into reality. Consider Thomas Edison, a man who failed over 1,000 times while trying to invent the light bulb. 1,000 times he was told it would not work. 1,000 times he faced the weight of disappointment, and 1,000 times he could have quit. But Edison understood something most never do. Every attempt was not a failure. It was a step closer, a refinement, a realignment. His persistence was not in the wires and filaments he tested. It was in the vision he refused to let go of, the certainty that light was already his to bring forth. And because he never gave up, Today we live in a world illuminated by his persistence. Think of Michael Jordan, cut from his high school basketball team, told he wasn't good enough, humiliated in front of peers. He could have accepted that story. He could have walked away, but instead he persisted. He lived in the assumption of greatness before the world saw it. He trained, he worked, he became the identity of a champion long before the trophies arrived. When asked later about failure, he said, "I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." Do you see the power here? It wasn't talent alone. It wasn't luck. It was persistence. The refusal to give, up in the face of rejection. Or look to Oprah Winfrey, once told she wasn't fit for television, rejected, fired, ridiculed. She could have let those opinions define her. She could have quit on the dream burning inside her. But instead, she persisted in the assumption that her voice mattered, that her story mattered, that her presence was already destined for greatness. Today, she stands as one of the most influential figures in media, a living testimony to persistence in the face of doubt. And then there are the countless souls you've never heard of. Ordinary men and women who persisted until their reality shifted. The student who failed exam after exam but persisted until graduation. The single parent who worked multiple jobs, never gave up, and manifested a better life for their children. The entrepreneur who faced bankruptcy but persisted in the vision of success until their business flourished. These stories may not make headlines, but they are proof that persistence, combined with belief, creates miracles. What all of these stories share is not luck, not special privilege, not magic-handed, down from above. What they share is persistence, the unwavering commitment to live in the end, to hold the assumption, to never give up. Each of them acted as if the dream was already theirs, even when no one else believed. Each of them held onto the vision, when circumstances screamed the opposite. And because they persisted, life eventually had to bend to their belief. So when you feel like quitting, remember this. Every legend you admire once stood where you stand, at the crossroads of giving, up or persisting. The only difference between them and the ones you've never heard of is that they chose persistence. They chose to keep walking, to keep believing, to keep living as if it was already done. And because of that, the universe had no choice but to deliver. Never forget these stories. Let them remind you that your struggle is not the end. Your obstacles are not final. Your delays are not denials. They are simply the tests that ask, will you persist? Will you hold the dream until it becomes real? Because if you do, you will. Join the ranks of those who prove to the world that persistence is the bridge, and that never giving up is the key that unlocks everything. The deepest secret of never giving up is not just about holding on to the dream. It is about shifting into the identity of the person who already has it. Because here is the truth. You cannot manifest from the identity of lack. You cannot bring into reality something that you are constantly chasing. As long as you see yourself as separate from the dream, you will always feel the distance between you and it. But when you shift identity, when you begin to act, think, and feel as if it is already yours, that distance collapses. Quantum manifestation is not about wanting. It is about becoming. It is not about begging. It is about embodying. It is not about waiting. It is about living in the end, today, now, in this moment. Think about the person who never gives up. They don't see themselves as someone trying, struggling, barely holding on. No, they see themselves as someone who is already victorious. Even in the face of failure, they identify as a winner. Even when results are invisible, they identify as successful. This identity creates energy, and energy creates alignment. When you walk, speak, and breathe as if you are already the version of yourself who has what you desire, reality begins to mirror that back to you. The outside world cannot resist the certainty of an identity consistently held. Neville Goddard said, "Assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled." That is identity work. It means you don't ask, "When will it happen?" You declare, "It has happened." and I am living in that state right now. That identity is what persistence is truly about. You are not persisting in struggle. You are persisting in being. You are persisting in the vibration, the frequency, the inner knowing that your desire is already yours. And the longer you hold that identity, the more unstoppable you become. So many people give up because they never shift identity. They keep trying to manifest abundance while identifying as broke. They keep trying to manifest love while identifying as unworthy. They keep trying to manifest health while identifying as sick. And the quantum field has no choice but to mirror that identity back. That's why giving up feels so tempting, because they are still fighting from the wrong state of being. But when you shift into the identity of already having, giving up is no longer an option. How can you give up on something you already are? How can you surrender what is already within you? Persistence then becomes natural. It is not a fight anymore. It is simply living in your truth. You wake up and carry yourself as the person who has achieved the dream. You speak words of certainty. You move with confidence. You feel gratitude for what is already here. And every day you do this, the outer world bends closer and closer to your inner state until the two become one. So I ask you, who are you being right now? Are you being the version of yourself who hopes one day it might happen? Or are you being the version of yourself who already knows it has? Because the choice is everything. When you shift identity, when you persist in the state of already having, you unlock the true power of never giving up. And from that place, nothing and no one can stop what is already yours. Belief is the engine that powers persistence, the invisible fuel that keeps you walking when everything around you tells you to stop. Without belief, persistence feels like a burden, but with belief, persistence becomes natural, almost inevitable. When you believe with certainty, you no longer chase the dream. You live as if it is already yours, and that changes everything. The quantum field does not respond to half-hearted wishing. It responds to the energy of conviction. Belief is not hoping, it is knowing. It is standing in the middle of doubt and declaring, "This is already mine. Nothing can take it from me." That energy is magnetic. That energy rearranges reality. That energy is why some people manifest miracles while others remain stuck in cycles of disappointment. Science shows us that the brain cannot tell the difference between something vividly imagined and something physically experienced. When you believe deeply enough, your mind and body begin to align with the state of already having. You feel the emotions of success before it arrives. You walk with the confidence of achievement before the world validates you. You carry the energy of abundance before the money touches your hands. And because you embody it so completely, the outer world has no choice but to catch up. Belief collapses time. Belief shortens the distance between you and your manifestation. Belief is the bridge that connects your persistence to your results. But here is the challenge. Belief is easy when life agrees with you, but belief is tested when nothing seems to be changing. That is when most people falter, because they measure their faith against the evidence of the moment. They look at the empty bank account, the rejection letters, the silence, and they say, "It's not working." But quantum manifestation demands that you hold belief first, without evidence. Evidence is not the cause of belief. Belief is the cause of evidence. You must believe in the dark before you will ever see the light. You must carry the energy of already having when everything screams that you don't. That is the true test of persistence, and it is the reason why the ones who never give up always win. Belief is not fragile. It is not weak. It is not a fleeting thought that disappears when life gets hard. Real belief is unshakable. It stands tall in the storm. It keeps breathing when the world is suffocating. It whispers, "Keep going," when everything says stop. And when you align your energy with that level of belief, you become unstoppable. Because in the quantum world, your belief is the creative force. What you assume is true, consistently and without wavering, must eventually harden into fact. So never give up, not because persistence is simply noble, but because persistence anchored in belief is the most powerful force you will ever wield. When you believe, your energy changes. Your actions change, your presence changes, people feel it, opportunities feel it, the universe itself feels it. You walk differently, you speak differently, you attract differently. Belief is the vibration that calls your dream out of the invisible into the visible. It is the force that transforms hope into certainty, vision into reality, persistence into victory. And here is the greatest truth. The dream you hold has always believed in you. That is why it chose you. That is why it burns in your heart and refuses to leave. Your only task is to match that belief, to hold it, to persist in it, and to never let it go. Because the moment you do, the universe has no choice but to hand you what was already yours all along. And if this message spoke to you today, if it reminded you of the power already within you, then don't let it end here. Carry this energy forward. And remember, your dream is already yours if you never give up. For more inspiration, guidance, and unstoppable motivation, subscribe to our channel right now. Because this is just the beginning of your journey. We are walking it with you. Hit that subscribe button, stay connected, and together we will manifest the life you've always known was waiting for you.